Welcome to the Savvy Safety Sisters Partner in Prevention podcast. We're your hosts, Carrie and Ingrid, and it's National Crime Prevention Month. And we know one of the best ways to make a difference in preventing victimization and keeping your family safe is to inform the public about strategies, tools, and techniques to increase safety.
And we want to empower our listeners with education and advocacy to support victims and do our best to prevent victimization, so our loved ones have the tools to take control of a devastating situation and make it better and safer for the ones they love.
Yeah, and our goal today is how can we make a difference in our own personal safety? And I'm pleased to introduce our guest, Angela Harris. And we had Angela on our Crime Espresso Shot podcast recently, where she shared the story of her daughter who was kidnapped and murdered almost 1 year ago this month. Now, Angela Harris has a deep passion that has surfaced through this unbearable loss of her precious daughter, Aniah. So welcome, Angela. We'd like to have you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and about Aniah.
Well, my name's Angela Harris. I'm from Homewood, Alabama. A mom of 4 beautiful children. But my daughter, Aniah, who would have been 20 in June, was kidnapped from the Chevron on South College Street in Auburn, Alabama on October 23rd, 2019, when she just went in the store to buy a bag of chips for her usual late night snack. And while my daughter was in that store, someone saw her and waited on her till she came out of the store and kidnapped her when she walked out. And we didn't know that what had happened immediately, but the search was on for her. We knew something was very wrong because she didn't come home. She didn't show up for her job and for her classes the next morning. And that's just not like Aniah. She never does anything like that. Her roommate even said she's always at home early to do her job and take care of her dog. She loved her dog Blue. So we immediately knew something was wrong and made a report to the police. And that's when we started researching and trying to figure out what has she spent any money? And, is her phone was off. So we come to find out that she had used her debit card at that store, and that's where the crime started, that she was kidnapped from the store. And,
can you tell us, sorry for interrupting.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, can you tell us about the Aniah Heart program that you started in your daughter's memory?
Yes. So Aniah's Heart was started, first of all, because it's called Aniah's Heart because my daughter Aniah had a huge heart, a heart of gold that loved everyone and cared more about other people than she ever did herself. She always put other people first. But because of my daughter being kidnapped and murdered, something just hit me, and knew that it had to be that I had to get out there and educate and teach everyone on being aware and being safe and protecting yourself from any violent situation or violent crime. And that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to, I want the world to know Aniah's story. I want them to know that it can happen to them. You're not immune. No one, man, woman, children, nobody, no matter where you're from, you are not immune to being a victim. And we have to teach people how to protect themselves.
Right. Yeah. Ingrid and I always talk about strategies, tools, and techniques to keep college students safe, or anybody safe, whether it's high school, middle school, and adults, right? And we really have to hone in those skills to keep our family safe because of the violent crimes that are occurring. And just a few days ago, up in Providence, Rhode Island, we saw a horrific video of a young child got off a school bus and was walking home, not very many houses away from her house, and a kidnapper pulled up, and he strategically pulled into a driveway to block her path on the sidewalk. So she had to walk around the back of his car. Meanwhile, he jumped out, opened his back door to his car, grabbed her and threw her in and drove away. Thank God this was all on video. So that video went wide and it went all over the area throughout Massachusetts and Rhode Island. And people were looking. And thank God, a couple hours later, he let her go in a neighborhood. And then the police were able to apprehend this criminal. But this is how quick it happens. And you're right, nobody's immune from this type of violent crime. And so the only way we can actually protect our family is by talking about the strategies, tools, and techniques of how to make sure that our family knows what to do in case of a situation like this, right? And so a perfect example is you talk with your children about what happens if a car pulls into a driveway in front of you. You need to react. You need to get around that car fast, or you need to backtrack and start running the other direction. If it's a car just pulling into a driveway, you'll soon enough know that things are fine, but you still need those seconds, because seconds can save your life. And that's what we always talk about as well too, right, Ingrid?
Exactly. Now let's talk about how we share our community awareness prevention programs. What are some of the tips you share with your students? And have you heard about the Red Zone?
Yeah. Angela, have you ever heard of the Red Zone?
No, I've not heard about the Red Zone.
Well, in our community awareness and prevention program, we'll talk about the Red Zone, which is usually the first 4 months of right when college starts. So it's August, September, October, November. And what we find is the majority of violent crimes that do happen over a course of a year for a college student happens in those 4 months. It's the Red Zone. Right? So this is one of the really important things that we want to share with all of the students going off to college, is those 4 first months are when you have to be on your game of looking, because you're making new friends. You're experiencing new things. You might be experimenting with alcohol. There's a number of new things. You're in a new place. You're in a new place probably that you don't know. By developing your situational awareness and understanding that the majority of these types of crimes happen during those 4 first months, then our children have the choice. They have an idea. Okay, so if more crimes happen now, I better be a little bit more careful and cautious, right? Be careful and cautious what time you're out, where you're going, who you're going with. And I know we talked before about you're only as good as your weakest link, right, Angela? We were talking about that earlier. So if you're out with a group of friends, you have to make sure that you all are on the same level as far as safety is concerned, right? So it seems to me, I think we lost Ingrid off our podcast, but that's okay. So we'll go on. So what are some of the strategies that you have been teaching recently to the groups? Like, for instance, you just went and talked to a group of a sororities students, right?
Right.
Sorority group. Well, how did you approach the conversation with them?
Well, I started at Auburn, where Aniah was kidnapped from, and one of her best friends actually was in that sorority, and so a lot of them knew her story, but I wanted them to know about Aniah, know that Aniah was them. Basically you have to make it personal and be like, this could have been you, and this could be you. You have to understand that Aniah was just like you. So, and then I started telling them, you have to get a plan in place. You have to have some basic knowledge. And the first thing that I told them is you have to be aware of your surroundings at all times. And so getting off of your cell phone first, staying off of your cell phone, take your earbuds out when you're walking, use the buddy system. If everywhere you go, if there's somebody available to go with you to anywhere you need to go. And if you don't have anyone to go with you during the day, at least try to get things done during the day. But always be aware, look at what's going on around you. I also talked about not carrying a purse, just carrying your keys in your hand. not bogging down your keys. You can use your keys as a weapon. You know, um, you don't want to be digging around in your purse for something. And always share your location with your friends and your family, or whoever you feel close to. Always let them know where you're going. And even if you don't have, even be on the phone with somebody, but don't have your phone in your hand looking down at it. Put it in your pocket and just have it on so somebody can hear you. I just kind of started with basic things like that because I didn't want to overwhelm them. But those were the top things I talked about: was always use the buddy system. Remember, you're not immune to any crime, and to get off your phone, look around, take your earbuds out, and that was the basic things I started with. I didn't want to overwhelm them, but that's what I'm trying to teach. And to also find a self-defense class, because if you have to know what to do with your body. If you just have your body, if they rob you, take your things, and they're trying to take you, you've got to know how to fight with what you have, and that's your body. So find a self-defense class to go immediately. Go find a self-defense class to be a part of.
Hey,
So those are some of the things that
have you ever heard of the RAD class?
no, I haven't.
Okay, so we're gonna have to, I'll send you a link and you can check it out. But almost all the different states, they're connected with the police departments, and it's called RAD. So it's a rape defense type of organization. So I did a class with my daughter before she went off on one of her study abroad programs. And what they do is it's a pretty intense program. So it's 3 or 4 days, maybe 3 hours each time. And you go in and they do muscle memory for punches, for kicks, for screams. Because oftentimes we find the women that we talk with, the girls that we talk to, they're embarrassed to scream. They don't want to scream, right? We want people to find their voices. We want them to yell and scream as loud as they can, because we know criminals do not like to be caught, right? We know they try to find vulnerable victims that will not say anything, that won't scream. And so if we can teach our women, our children, how to use their voice in a really loud way, this is one more great tool that they can have, right? And then at the end of the class, after all this preparation, all this muscle memory, and going over all the strategic strategies that you can use to stay safe, you have the very last class. They take each individual person and they give you a scenario, and a police officer dressed in all of his pads grabs you and jumps out and tries to take you, right? And you have to fight back. And what's really fun, the class that I did up in Somerville, Massachusetts, was they filmed it all. So at the very end, you got to watch everybody get jumped. And we got to see how well people reacted, how well people were able to fight and defend themselves. And this is what we want our people to have, right? Our students to have, our children to have, are those muscle memory, their voice ready to go, and being proactive with their safety.
Right.
So I'm going to send you that link.
Yeah. Okay. And another thing I told them, walk when you're getting out of your car or wherever you're going. Walk with this is something I learned actually from Paul Sharp, a Chicago police officer. Walk with a purpose. Walk, you can't be slow when you're getting out of your car or if you're walking to class, because 9 times out of 10, if somebody is going to take somebody, they're going to take somebody who's not paying attention and who is just kind of slow or whatever. Just sprint. Now when I'm going anywhere, I'm walking fast in that store. I'm watching where I'm going. I'm just walking with a purpose. And that's what I'm trying to teach here is, like you have got a playing to catch. Go in, get back out as fast as you can, because if somebody sees you, they're stalking, they're probably not going to mess with you if they know you are, you got something to do, you got a plan, you got a purpose, and you're not just not paying attention. You're going to be running.
So the situational awareness, and also we'll have you back another time. We'll talk about the baseline check and the 2 R's, right? Ingrid, we'll have to have her back to talk all about that. But you're right, having a purpose, getting out, doing it fast, making sure when you get in your car, the first thing you're doing is locking your door, right? How many times have we seen the carjackings happen? And you're wondering, how did the carjacker get into the car? It's always because they forget to lock their door, right? First thing, muscle memory, get in, lock your door, right?
Yep.
So,
And roll the windows up. I learned that too myself. I ran into a situation with myself. I don't know if you guys know what a Sonic is, but it's like a drive up. You just drive in and sit and order your food. And I was having a bad day. I was crying. I was upset over Aniah, and I'd ordered my food, and I forgot to roll my window back up after I hit the button. And a man came up behind me. He could have had a gun. He could have had anything, but he just came up to my window and just immediately started begging me for money. And I thought, wow, I just put myself in a very bad situation. And I wasn't even, I wasn't paying attention, and it could have cost me, so got to roll those windows up and keep those doors locked.
absolutely, absolutely. So, and what would you, or could you share with us where our listeners can find you, how they can donate to your cause, and any extra information that you'd like to share with them?
Okay. So I have right now a Facebook page and an Instagram page called Aniah's Heart, and we don't yet have the website complete. It's going to be completed next week, so you can just have a button to donate to Aniah's Heart. But right now we have a PayPal account set up. It's a nonprofit PayPal. It's called Aniah's Heart. You can find the link to that on my Instagram page and the Facebook page. So, or if you want to send, a check to Aniah's Heart, the address to Aniah's Heart is actually listed on the Instagram and the Facebook page right now. So hopefully the website will be up soon. Excited about that. So you will be able to donate easily that way.
Have the resources to get out, share your story, and make sure more people are safe in this world. So Angela, we want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. We're so grateful for your passion and the knowledge that you shared with our listeners today.
Thank you. You're welcome.
And Ingrid?
Yes, and we have to remember that once someone has been victimized, their worldview and sense of personal safety is changed forever. And in our awareness programs, we offer participants practical ways to increase personal safety to prevent victimization. And so we want to have our listeners always use that number, the 24-hour hotline. And if you need to speak with a trained advocate who can provide assistance with needs resulting from victimization, we want you to call 1-888-288-9221. Crisis intervention, when you just need someone to talk to, when you don't know where to turn, when you feel overwhelmed, they will be there to listen and help.
Right. So important to have those 24-hour hotlines to be available to anybody that needs to talk. So once again, 1-888-288-9221. So, and we will be back for another episode to increase public awareness and to reduce the dangers faced by citizens in their daily lives, whether traveling around the world or around the corner. Now, please visit us at Global Secure Students for more information about our community awareness and prevention programs on how to keep your family and your children safer. Angela, we are so grateful that you joined with us tonight, and we'll look forward to having you back again.
Thank you, and you're so welcome.